All right, thank you for staying with Citizen TV. Daybreak conversation continues even during the break. It's all about the housing levy. But Anwale, you wanted to respond to Sifuna, who's saying this is ill-time. The issue here is not a housing issue, it's an income problem. That is what needs to be resolved first.
You know, my understanding is that the issue of urbanization is appreciated by Senator Sifuna and all his other colleagues in Azimio. It therefore means that even in their manifesto, I never had an opportunity to read it, they must have had something on housing. If they didn't, then they were not prepared to lead this country. I would have expected that being the case, Sifuna would have used this opportunity to punch holes the way he's attempting in our plan for housing, and then explain to Kenyans how better they would have done it. He is actually a good student, Sifuna, I'm realizing, but in a classroom of a bad teacher. Sifuna is correctly saying that one of the problems of failure to people to own houses in Nairobi is because of expensive land. He has said it. And yet in our program, that's exactly the number one thing that we have addressed. We are telling people with our program, we will give you free land and you will not pay taxes on that housing. We have responded to his concern. Number two, he's saying the building materials are too expensive. And he's telling us that we have increased tax on imported cement, and therefore we are not solving the problem. Sifuna, listen to me. In fact, the tax increment on imported cement, the increment should have been higher, because we want to discourage cement from being imported into Kenya for the reason that Kenyans, we are net producer of cement. We produce cement here, we've got all the raw materials, we have the technique, we have already the track record of producing cement, which we have been exporting to Uganda, Rwanda, and everywhere. We must discourage anybody from importing cement here. You can imagine the cement which the Chinese have been importing into this country for the last 10 years when Uhuru has been president. If that money had been reserved for the people who produce cement locally, the contribution to this economy in terms of actual finance and in terms of jobs would have been enormous. A student with a poor teacher in your classroom. Thirdly, Senator Sifuna, you give the impression that the president's hands are not safe hands. But you don't back it with any facts. It's just a statement that we cannot trust the president with another fund. You said NHIF fund, NSSF fund, they are a failure, and therefore we can't trust Ruto with a fund. Once upon a time, there was a president called Mwai Kibaki, and he allowed ministers to work. I'm lucky that I worked under Kibaki. Kibaki marked out particular programs for respective people. He marked out slum upgrading. He was pushing it himself through Soita Shtanda. It was a success. He marked out agriculture for some time and education for some time to William Ruto. William Ruto, when agriculture was marked to him, he cut the cost of fertilizer. When Ruto then was moved to education, he managed to sort out the double intake that used to be a headache in this country. And what is more, Ruto is the one now who rolled out the current success that is called the TVETs institutions, Technical and Training Institutes. On the other hand, Senator Sifuna, Kazi kwa Vijana was marked to the former Prime Minister, Raila Odinga. And Kazi kwa Vijana became a serious, serious scandal when it was being presided over by the former Prime Minister. So the success of Ruto at that time, I pray for him because I don't know, people change. But the success that we saw him at that time if I pray that he succeeds in a similar manner, our housing program is going to succeed. And the fears you are raising are real. The points you are saying that the people are not in slum areas by choice is true. The people living in the slum areas would love to come out, but they cannot come out if they have leaders like you guys who do not want to move the frontier of practice of leadership by breaking fresh ground to allow for new ideas to guide our leadership.
Why can't this deduction be voluntary?
Precisely. You people, you are misleading the country to make housing look like it is tax, the 3% is taxation. It is not a tax measure at all. It is a saving. We are telling people, let us encourage you to save. Allow me.
Why is
there is so much financial illiteracy in this country that even Ponzi schemes, pyramid schemes, even Shylocks, even online conmen succeed because of financial illiteracy. People must know that saving is part of financial management of your income. Now, we have not been even allowed, because of the noise coming from Azmio, to remind Wananchi that that person who is earning over 500,000 shillings per month, the maximum he will pay to this program, not pay, save, the maximum he will be helped to save is actually 2,500 shillings. 2,500, that's the maximum. Now, the misinformation that my brother wants to give the public, that they will have to wait for 25 years before they get the house, is exactly the problem.
You said it yourself.
No. I've not mentioned the word 25 years. Nobody will wait for 25 years. As soon as the houses are ready, people are going to queue for the houses. Not based on how much you've contributed, but the criteria that will allow the people in the queue to get, and you'll not wait until after you have saved 3 million for you to be given a house. You'll stay in the house and be paying for it, so that instead of paying rent, the money which you would have been paying rent is helping you to offset the house which you could clear in a lifetime.
But why does it have to be mandatory? That's the part.
So, let me say the things I don't like about the housing thing. Yeah, I'm also a Kenyan. What I don't like about the housing is that because it is a saving, to me it looks like a national circle, okay? Let people go in voluntarily, slowly, after they have captured. The only mistake I see is that we are rushing people, giving them new information too fast. So we needed to precede this with better public participation, allow people to graduate into the scheme probably for a period of 2 years. People will have understood it. Then that way, the noise you're hearing would have been less. Me personally, I want to assure all the majority of Kenyans who are in this country and they are hustling and they are jobless and they don't have a pay slip, not to listen to these few Kenyans who are privileged, they are employed, they have a pay slip, not to confuse them to think that their woes is their woes.
Okay, but let's be a bit practical. Okay? So assuming somebody earns 30,000 shillings.
Yes.
3% will be about 900 shillings.
Yes.
The employer also contributes another 900 shillings.
Yes.
That's 1,800 per month.
Yes.
In a year, that's 21,600.
A year?
In a year, that's 21,600.
Okay.
How long will it take to get 3 million?
You know, the principle is pooling. It is called pooling of the resources. We have pooled the money. And once the money is pooled, the administration of the fund finds already government is given free land, finds developers, for information, who find that there is a guarantee, yes, that the money you sink into that project, you'll recoup it because there'll be no default on repayment. The developers will not wait for the 21,000 to grow into 3 million for you to own a house. They'll put up the house. You'll move into the house as you continue growing your savings.
Which will finish in 138 years.
No, you don't have to. Get it very straight. You look at the pooling effect. Developers fear to go to the bank to collect money to put up houses because they know once you put up the houses, the people who will take will eventually default. Yes? That's what they fear. The banks fear giving the developers because they know it would be a bad loan. Okay? But now, because of this clear thinking, the banks will release money to developers. Developers will take the risk because the money which is pooled from the fund is guaranteed to go into it. Let me tell you, doomsayers like you, I don't know, doomsayers like you, like Sifuna here, I don't know where he was, in 2003. In 2003, when Mwai Kibaki and Michael Kijana Wamalwa campaigned on a strong platform of free primary education, they said it's not possible. In 2003, in fact, it looks like the only thing that has changed is remove Wamalwa, remove Kibaki, put there Ruto and his team. On the other side, it is still the same side.
Okay.
It was Uhuru who was saying that he was a presidential candidate who was saying that free primary education was not possible.
Okay.
They had refused to do forward thinking, which is what we are doing now. We have to. If you are a father who has a wife and who gets children, you have to be gifted with forward thinking. Otherwise, you don't deserve being called a father. Okay. In the same manner, these guys don't deserve being called leaders.
Trevor, first of all, I am happy that those questions are coming from you and not from me. Because as I told you, these people, just a minute. These people have a mental block. When they see it is Sifuna asking these questions, they just write me off and say, oh, these Azimio people are making noise. Khalwale is a serious historical revisionist. Khalwale is forgetting that, in fact, let me start with 2003. Khalwale, you know where we were in 2003, on what side of the issues we were in 2003. It was Baba Raila Amolo Odinga, whose name you don't want to mention, who was pushing this agenda in 2003. Where are you getting Wamalwa Kijana and leaving out Raila Odinga? How can you mention Mwai Kibaki in 2003? He was on a wheelchair when Raila was running around the country campaigning for him. You are talking about the slum upgrading project. The champion of the slum upgrading project, the person who designed it, is Raila Amolo Odinga. In fact, he is the only person who built any unit of house in the slums under this particular program. He was fought by no other than William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta when they took over in 2013. Why did you not proceed with that project if William Ruto is this visionary person? You paint a picture of a stellar record of William Ruto in the Ministry of Agriculture. You have forgotten the infamous maize scandal. That was William Ruto. So please, when we express these fears, take us seriously and do not try to revise history as if we were not there when these things were happening. Khalwale, you also understand there is something called a hierarchy of needs. A hierarchy of needs, basic education again. You say I am a good student in a bad classroom or a classroom with a bad teacher. Yes. But you are just a bad teacher. You yourself are a bad teacher because you are telling us things that you know are lies. In the hierarchy of needs, first take care of people's ability to feed themselves. Khalwale, we are saying that the space slips of these people cannot bear anymore. You are familiar with the doctrine of the last straw. Even when you talk about these people who earn 500,000, you're saying, oh, only 2,500. You are forgetting it's like you looking at a donkey that is carrying 10 bags of maize and saying, if I throw on this one other bag, there's nothing that is going to happen to the donkey. But you forget that that final straw does not have to be as heavy as the other things that the donkey is carrying. Look at it cumulatively. We are saying people are unable to take any further deductions from their salaries because their salaries have not grown. The rate of inflation has grown exponentially. Many people have gone years without pay rises. Nobody has seen a pay rise in years. Then you're telling these people, oh, we are only adding 2,000 shillings. At the same time, Trevor, all these other taxes are going up. The same person is supposed to pay an extra 16% for fuel. The same person is supposed to pay new taxes on beauty products. You have done nothing for these people. So for you to be able to justify why you are adding more taxes on top of the ones that you have already imposed on them. Do something for the people first before you come and impose. I was having a conversation with these young people, Trevor. In 2022, when I was running for Senate, there were young people who do this digital content creation. And most of them didn't see the relationship between what they do and politics. Most of them, in fact, told me they were not going to vote. I tried to explain to them that you can ignore politics and government, but politics and government is not going to ignore you. Immediately you start making any form of money, whatever your hustle is, government will start paying attention to you. Now, they have introduced this new digital tax. Just for these young people who produce TikToks, make money off endorsement of products, you have done nothing for those young people. Khalwale here, even if you ask him, I would be surprised if he knows what a light ring is. He doesn't know. Build some infrastructure. You see, for people like the industry that came up in Kamakis because of the Eastern Bypass, you can justify going to tax the butcheries in Kamakis because their business sprang up as a result of the construction of the Eastern Bypass. But what justification do you have when this fiber optic cable landed? It wasn't brought by this gentleman. The high-speed fiber that we enjoyed was not a result of this bottom-up government. So what justification, what have you done for these people to enable them to earn this money that justifies you to deduct this particular tax? So what we are saying is, Khalwale, people are unable to bear any more cost. And please, even if you don't listen to me, listen to Trevor. Listen to that gentleman behind the camera there who is telling you, because he's the one who has to live and survive on his payslip. He's saying it has thinned out, life has become unbearable. The houses that we used to be able to afford a while back, we can no longer afford. We are moving now, instead of growing the way we were saying, you move from a 1-bedroom to a 2-bedroom. People are having to downscale because they are no longer able to afford this particular issue. So the cost of living. So maybe you can now ask the question you wanted to ask.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you that what is wrong if 91% of the people are renting, Sifuna? And
Yes.
this is according to Charles Henga, who's the PS for housing.
Yes.
What is wrong with renting to own? Because either way, it's true what you're saying, that maybe people's payslip can't handle it anymore.
Yes.
But they're paying rent now anyway.
Yes.
Because they're already here.
Yes.
What is wrong with paying that rent to eventually own that house?
But that's what I'm saying. The time that it takes, you yourself have alluded to the time that it takes for you to be able to actually reach that target of house ownership. And we're saying that you have to address the cost of the house. The cost of the house is the problem. If my payslip cannot be able to make me afford, even people, you talk about people paying rent, you can only pay the rent that what is it called, your payslip can afford. Yeah, so it's not as if people have this amount of money that they are able to pay, but they are refusing to pay. Every one of us would like to live in a clean environment. All of us, if we were given the opportunity to move into the neighborhood that Khalwale lives in, we would do it. But Kenyans are saying, allow me to plan myself. Allow me to plan myself. Even for me, before I went into Parliament and got a good mortgage scheme there that only charges me 3%, I can be able to say without fear of contradiction that I was not able to afford a house. And yet, it's not as if I wasn't making money. I was making money, and it was not bad money, Trevor. But according to the plan that I have in my cash flow, the things that I need to do today, the school fees that I need to pay and the others, you cannot impose on me the sort of mortgage repayment that I am paying right now. I could not afford it then, you know? Okay. So what we are saying is, please let us have a conversation that is honest with Kenyans and listen to them. They're the ones, the wearer of the shoe is the one who knows where it's pinching him. Okay. If you are saying that your payslip is not able to take any more, even if it is 1%, the government should be able to listen to you. And I want to ask Khalwale, are you a government or a nanny? Because you see, nannies are the ones who pretend that they know what is good for the baby. You are not dealing with idiots. Kenyans are not fools. You're saying there is financial literacy.
Yeah.
People know. People wake up every morning, they earn 500 shillings, and they don't consult you.
Okay.
They sit there and they plan how they're going to pay rent from that 500 shillings, how they're going to feed their families from that 500 shillings, how they're going to pay school fees. They never come to you for consultation.
Okay.
So please speak to Kenyans with some respect. They are not idiots.
But what are you offering as a solution then? We know that there's a...
As a solution, we have said, first of all, Trevor, grow people's incomes. Grow the number of people who are able to pay or contribute to that fund. Tell us how many jobs, well-paying jobs you've created over the past 8 months. What is the plan to grow that pool? Instead of having one cow that you milk until it drops dead, create another cow. Buy another cow so that you can milk 2 cows a liter each, instead of that one cow giving you 2 liters every day.
But they're saying...
That's what we're saying is so
but
sustainable.
they're saying one of the plans is to have these local artisans employed in this building of these new houses, that they then create millions of jobs as a ripple effect.
No.
Is that a plan?
No. That is not a plan, because they are not going to... That's not a plan to create employment, Khalwale. The plan to create employment is to attract investment. You attract investment by creating an atmosphere that allows people to come and invest in your country, not to allow the sort of anarchy you are allowing in the South Rift that is even discouraging people to invest their money in Kenya. That is how you create jobs. Just one industry, Khalwale, you have seen. I'll give you the example of the tea multinationals. One industry is employing 10, 15,000 people. When Mumias was up and running, Trevor, how many people were employed at Mumias? There are entire towns that sprang up because of Mumias. Mumias Sugar was the biggest taxpayer in Western Kenya when it was doing well. When you remove just one of those, the tax that we lost when Mumias went under is the one that we are now being imposed on as the people who are employed. What we are saying is, show us a plan that will create more taxpayers. More taxpayers. The largest taxpayers in the last 10 years have been largely the same people. And in fact, if you look at that list of the top 10 taxpayers, many of them are these tea factories. Grow them, add more, so that the Kenyans, the Kenyan citizen, the ordinary mwananchi who has a job like you, can feel some relief. You understand? So we don't see that plan. We don't see encouragement of investment. We don't see a plan to create more job creators, such that the taxes are distributed more evenly amongst more people than just coming to Trevor every day with housing levy, VAT on fuel, VAT on food. You will crumble. You will fall down and die.
There's a lot of feedback before I come to Olole. Let's bring up the feedback and see what you're saying on this conversation we're having. Before we move on to a different conversation, let's bring that up on screen at Trevor Mbidi at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. Esaravai says, ask Khalwale, where does he want the current landlords to go? Does it mean all of us will shift from the apartments we are staying here in Nairobi to the new houses being constructed by Ruto? Will they bring down these buildings that currently exist? All right, let's answer that question first. It's a direct question to you.
Amazing. It's the mindset. Here is a Kenyan who thinks he owes his landlord a living. The basic thing I want to tell that young man, because they're the ones on their keyboards now, is that life is such that the world does not owe you a living. The world owes you an opportunity to make or earn a living. So, President Ruto and us, we are giving you an opportunity to earn a living. And you're saying, I owe my landlord something. You are really a mental slave.
Okay. Let's bring up the rest of what you're saying here. Let's bring that up. The next one is Reverend Harikos Gay. Says this issue of housing levy is very good. Many will see its benefits soon. After yesterday's explanations, many have now understood. Imagine 2,500 maximum for a person earning more. Please, let's not politicize everything for the sake of politics. Exactly. God bless. Okay. Kenny Aminde says, ask Senator Khalwale, yes, if the teachers, civil servants, trade unions, private sector, etc., who are against the housing scheme are all in Azimio, also tell us about the 10% deposit Hinga talked about. Will a hustler be able to afford it? Khalwale.
Yes. And this is where the conversation goes. You cannot, in a conversation of this housing, basically listening to teachers as the lead thinkers. Because the teachers, teachers, this is son of a teacher. Teachers, majority of them live in their rural areas. So they do not have the pain of my brothers and sisters living in Mukuru-Kwanjanga. They do not have that pain. This is responding to that. What teachers don't know is that we are not planning for the teachers. We are planning for urbanization. The country, the world is moving into urbanization. If we just sit there singing Tibim and Tialala and Ria, the country called Kenya will not be able to receive people from the rural areas because they'll keep on coming.
So if you're not planning for the teachers, why are they the ones being deducted?
Correct.
Well, the teachers are not the only employees we have. And we are telling them because we don't want to be punitive, so we have refused to relax.
Leave them out.
Relax. You'll have all the time. we are telling the teachers, relax. This is not a tax. If we wanted the 3% to be a tax, we would have said it. It's just that the way you have set this discussion, I had thought we would do housing and then do taxing. You can see he's running into issue of taxation. We are proudly going to tax Kenyans because some of the things he's using to defend the fact that we are taxing Kenyans are things which are traditionally in this country and all over the world are supposed to attract high taxation. He's talking about beauty products. Cosmetics traditionally must be, those are luxury items. They attract alcohol, cigarettes, they attract higher taxes.
But are you concerned then that...
Let me flow.
Okay.
And for this reason, the teachers will eventually understand. I was in a place called Ilunyo. We were burying a principal of a high school. And I sat there for 3 hours. All the heads of Luyaland were there. And they were bashing the government and bashing me. It took me 10 minutes to make them realize that they were confusing taxation and saving. For God's sake, 3% housing is not taxation. It's not a taxation measure. Senator Sifuna, you need not have been in the National Assembly to distinguish between budget making and raising money to foot that budget. The moment you read out your budget, you are also supposed to be accompanying with Senator Sifuna with tax measures on how you'll fund the budget. You think the success of Kibaki was that Kibaki sold his goats in Othaya or sold part of his property to fund national programs? No. Kibaki collected and managed taxes. We want to collect and manage taxes. Unlike you guys, your multinationals, not multinationals, the big companies that you own have not been paying taxes. You are giving tax exemptions to people who should have paid taxes. We are simply saying, let everybody pay tax. When you go, you ask me that we go to a town hall meeting in Kakamega, and you tell me that invite only the working class. No. I want us to go to a town hall meeting, in fact, in Puhungu Stadium, and invite all the people of Western Province into the stadium, those who want to come, employed and unemployed. It is when it will become clear that the people in employment are selfish. They are selfish because they are privileged to have a job. So if you have a job, you should pay taxes so that services can then be given to you and the people who do not have a job. If you have a job, Sifuna, and you don't want to pay taxes, quit that job so that we give somebody who can earn that money and pay some tax.
Now that you've gone into the taxation conversation, Senator Aluwale, are you concerned that the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, KEPSA, are saying that Kenya risks losing 100 billion shillings, 130 billion shillings investment if the finance bill is passed? Because they say the taxes are too punitive.
Yes.
This is the Kenya Association of Manufacturers.
Can I respond before we go
the question is mine. The question is mine.
Not that one.
KEPSA?
The things you are saying.
I'll give you a chance.
KEPSA and Kenya?
Kenya Association of Manufacturers.
Yes. The Kenya Association of Manufacturers, who are they? Those are employers. this innovative thinking of 3% is asking those guys to top up for their employees. So they know they're going to lose some money. So to listen to those guys who are supposed to help their employees to own houses and say that the ones who are supposed to drive the process is to implement a strategy that is going to fail.
Okay.
Who are KEPSHA? KEPSHA is the Kenya
Private Sector Alliance.
Kenya Private Sector Alliance. Who are they? The Private Sector Alliance are employers. So it is not because they care about the people in their squalor living conditions. It is because they do not want to lose the top-up, which they must give. So you are listening to the wrong guys.
You see this dismissive attitude, at least for us in Azimio, we are okay being dismissed by these guys, the way they're dismissing. Khalwale, who are you going to listen to? The ordinary Kenyan is telling you they don't want this thing, they can't afford it. The professionals are telling you they don't want it. Civil society is telling you they don't want it. It's going to ruin the economy. These private sector people that you're dismissing, they are the job creators. Listen to them. Who amongst us, Khalwale, is worthy being listened to by this Kenya Kwanza government? Who? Are you waiting for the bishops to come, the intercessors at State House? Are those the only people you can listen to? We are discussing matters here that are quite grave.
Yes.
Khalwale, even when you talk about savings, people save what is extra from their earnings after they have taken care of their basic needs. You don't force us to save what we do not have. You are telling that hustler who only makes enough. When they say people are living hand to mouth, it's not a joke. It's a truth that every single day the income that you make is only sufficient to take care and defray your expenses for that day. There is no more coin for us to save. So you can't tell us that you are encouraging us to save when our incomes have not grown. Focus on growing people's incomes. We have seen in other countries, people are happy to pay even 70% income tax. They are happy because their incomes can afford it and basic services are taken care of. Trevor. Number two, if you have disclosed here yourself that Kenyan teachers are not part of this plan, if you're a Kenyan teacher, you will pay this levy, but you can be sure, Khalwale has confirmed here, that house is not for you. That's what he has said. And if that is true, this is why Kenyans are saying, let it be optional. They say you can't tax me without representation. No taxation without representation means if this tax has nothing to do with me, don't involve me in it. You're talking about, the people in employment being jealous or being selfish. That is not the truth. In fact, all of us, every person who is looking out there for a job out there, they know that they want to contribute. People want to contribute to the growth of their country. They know that these taxes are mandatory. We don't look for jobs to pay taxes, Khalwale. Please, we look for jobs so that we can be able to improve our financial standing, to help our families come out of poverty, to be able to feed our children, to school them. If you are telling me that the entire purpose of looking for a job is to pay taxes, there is no point of me working. I am working to employ and to improve my lot. You cannot tell me that the entire justification for people to have jobs is to pay taxes. That is not why we exist. So we are saying, grow the number of people who you are taxing. I have not refused to pay the 30% tax that I pay. I don't have a choice in it. I am saying if there were 2 and 3 or 4 of us paying the same amount, you would have more. Instead of milking one cow until it dies, you are a bullfighter. Why can't you understand these analogies that use cows? Okay. Get 2 cows, 2 dairy cows that you can get a liter each. Instead of taking 10 liters from one cow, it will die. Number 3, these proposals we are talking about, you told us that we are a net producer of cement. The cement manufacturers you are dismissing here are also telling you...
Dismissing?
Yes. You have just dismissed KEPSA. You have just dismissed Kenya Association of Manufacturers, which in fact is the biggest source of employment for me in this county. 60% of employment in Nairobi is from Kenya Association of Manufacturers. So there are people that I listen to, and I listen to very carefully. You people killed all your industries in Kakamega. So maybe you don't understand where CAM is coming from and the important role that they play in making sure that we are able to employ Kenyans. They are telling you, you have imposed another 10% export and investment levy on steel products and cement. The same things we're discussing here that should lower the cost of construction of houses. Khalwale, listen to someone. Listen to someone. The hustler is crying. He's saying, please don't increase VAT on fuel. You are saying, itapita wapende wasipende. The hustler is telling you that they cannot afford an increase of 5 shillings on bread. You people have already increased price of bread. You promise these hustlers that you're going to reduce the price of unga. You are lying to them every single day that unga is now 150, 160. You talk to those same hustlers, and I will allow you, Khalwale, out of my 17 constituencies, pick a constituency, pick a ward, pick a hustler. Ask that hustler how much they are buying unga in whatever ward in Nairobi you want to pick them from. You are not listening to the hustler. You are not listening to the professionals. You are not listening to civil society. You are not listening to us as representatives of the people. You are closed up in this state house where you just sing Hosanna from morning to evening, and then you impose these things and you don't want to listen to anyone. You just dismiss all of us. Okay. For me, I am happy for you to dismiss me because I know, as I said, you have profiled Azimio as a problem, that we are just a choir that makes noise. Listen to Trevor then, if you won't listen to me.
Let's finish up with the feedback and then move on to a different conversation. I'll come to you in just a bit. Let's finish the feedback, then you give a response, because I'm sure there's still quite a number of people asking you questions there. Most of them are being posed towards you. Let's bring up Bran Chemwa. Says, levies on new construction or development projects can discourage investment and hinder economic growth. The president should wait, solve economic crisis, and put money in the pockets of Kenyans. Let the levy come later. How will that housing help me who lives in Tongaren? Okay. Honorable Lilian Sioi says the housing levy is an investment. If you contribute and after 15 years you will not have gotten a house under the affordable housing agenda, you will get your money back. This is about giving Kenyans better and dignified roofs over their heads. Okay. Taruz says it is no longer Kenya Kwanza against Azimio, but all Kenyans. Why is it that our voices no longer matter? Housing levy is misguided, and if it is a form of savings, increase in NSSF is enough, not forgetting increased VAT and NHIF. Magwa says, I find it ironical that Kenyans are being forced to save again through housing fund when they are already saving through NSSF, where the fee has just been increased. Yet, they are overburdened by the taxes that the government has imposed on them. Elvis says, I read from the same page with Sifuna. Not everyone needs or might need a house. Okay. Samuel says, I suggest that the housing levy is made optional. Out of his 7 million voters, at least half should see the vision and support it from their pockets. After all, it is a government of shareholders. Let them get the houses too. Okay. Masika says, ask Alwale why the government is insensitive when it comes to the housing levy deduction. Why does the government want to deduct my salary to build me a house when I already have a 5-bedroom house in Athi River? It is ridiculous. Sawe says, if this housing scheme truly benefits Kenyans, and why impose it as a mandatory? Why compel Kenyans to participate against their will? Why does the government face such difficulty in providing a clear explanation? Chema chajiuza kibaya chajitembeza. All right. You wanted to, let's finish this conversation and go into something.
I wanted to respond to some very important issues raised by my colleague here. And the most burning one is he has said we should increase the number of people in employment so that there are more people paying what he calls have 2 cows instead of 1 cow. Sifuna, construction of houses is going to be a game changer in the lives of the children that we are churning out of TVETs. Electricians, plumbers, masons, carpenters, name it. They are going to get jobs spot on. If you have ever constructed a house, and a lawyer man of over 40 like you already must have constructed a house. A Isimba, what have you. The mere act of constructing an Isimba creates jobs in your homes. Mama who will cook for these people. I don't have to even explain. So jobs are going to come out of this initiative spot on. The issue you are worried about the construction materials and the tax measures that we have taken on it. All the tax measures in the finance bill, is a pity you're not an MP, so you are not obligated to read the tax bill. But just as a leader...
I have read it.
Very good of you.
Yes.
Hey, you are a lawyer. All the tax measures you're seeing in there, I have had the opportunity to sit with the president, not as an individual, but as parliament. And we've gone through these issues one by one. They are well thought out. Cement, I've already discounted. I've told you that it's good for Kenya for us to increase tax on imported cement so that our jobs by the private sectors, producers of cements, can actually thrive. 2, the furniture, which is used in the constructive industry. We have deliberately imposed higher taxation on imported furniture so that we allow the people in Bungoma, the people in Sirisia, in Nalondo, in Luahaha, your home, to be able to sell their furniture. Kenyans will remember, was it 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago, there was this innovative young Juakali fellow who came up with a foldable table or stool, whatever you were calling it. The Kenyans are innovative. So, if in the carpentry sector, you say you're building these thousands of houses and you have a standard door. So you tell one Juakali Sacco that you'll do the doors, the other ones you'll do the windows, and so on and so forth. That is called jobs. You keep on screaming about food and cleverly refuse to tell Kenyans what we are doing in the tax bill about some food commodities. Did you know, Trevor, that my brother who has read that bill has refused to tell you that in the tax bill, we have actually increased the tax on fish so that Kenyans don't eat fish from China.
Imported fish, yes.
We want Kenyans to take nets, to take whatever it takes to go and land into Lake Victoria, to land very early in the morning in the Indian Ocean, get out fish, and we eat this fish. Instead of Kenyans refusing to go and fish, waiting for fish from China. Finally, but not least, you have raised the important issue. Not finally. You have raised it was the Akola. Akola has said, why can't we save the same amount through NSSF? Brilliant. But I want to caution him that it is better to save it as a fund, separate fund, because you'll have ring-fenced it. We don't want money that was meant for construction being heaped together with other monies in NSSF, and it ends up doing something else.
That's not what they said, though. What they said is they're already saving through NSSF, so why do they need
Yeah, he said, why can't we save through NSSF?
They're already
which has already, yeah. So that is my contribution to that. Then Mheshimiwa wanted me to look very foolish, that I know nothing about ICT. He talked about what are we doing about the TikTokers? We are doing something, Mheshimiwa. We've even gone as far as creating a particular ministry headed by Eliud Owalo. This Ministry for Information, you are behind news. It has rolled out hubs. And they're being launched every day. You read papers every day. You see Owalo all over the place. We are cascading it down. At the moment, we have it in every constituency. Okay. It is going to be cascaded to every ward, and it will be cascaded to every village.
All right. Gentlemen, we have just about 20 minutes, and I'd like us to shift gears and talk about the bipartisan talks. You're both members there.
That's fine. So before you go there, let me just say, first of all, I am happy with Kenyans. I can feel the civic responsibility is beginning to be taken seriously by Kenyans. Let Kenyans express themselves. I have been extremely impressed by all the organizations that have taken the time to have a go at this public participation before the Budget and Finance Committee. It might look vain because, you know, the Kenya Kwanza members of parliament have already received instructions from who they consider to be their bosses. From my perspective, the bosses of all elected leaders remain the people who elected us. And even after the instructions have been given at State House, I want to encourage every Kenyan, on this particular one, because it's going to affect you, please speak to your member of parliament. In fact, if it was possible, Trevor, because Article 1 says this power can be exercised through the MPs or directly. I would have wished a situation where Kenyans themselves be given a chance to vote on this housing levy. Because as you have seen, the current regime is deaf to all of us. They have profiled the opposition, they have profiled KEPSA, the teachers are not involved, the private sector, all of us have been dismissed, except maybe the prayer warriors. How I wish this bill, instead of the 290 MPs voting on this bill, each constituency, members of Ikolomani should come themselves and say, yes, I want this tax. It would be very interesting. And that is all I want to say.
Okay. Alwale, let's shift gears now and talk about the